So I wanted to do a quick reading tonight on what cycle it is that you're closing out, because as I've mentioned before, I work in special education and tomorrow is the last day of our school year for my students. So that's a cycle that's been pretty long for me this year. Quite a few of us actually, but we made it, we survived. And I just wanted to do a little reading, I guess, to celebrate. Pile 1, 2, and 3. Which cycle are you closing? Pile 1. We have the magnifying glass and this rose quartz. So what cycle have you been closing? What's finally ending? Page of Wands. Three of Swords. And the Nine of Wands. And on the bottom we have Justice. These tarot decks are the Forger's Daughter and the Embroidered Forest. I mixed them together. So what cycle is ending for you guys? I feel like you guys have been searching for something and it's been kind of a painful struggle. It might have been kind of a dark time for you, but with the Justice, and obviously this is about closing a cycle, I feel like that's coming to an end for you soon. I don't know what this struggle is or what it was that you were searching for. It's going to be different for each person, but let's get into it. What are they? Grief. Solitude. Once you embrace the inner divine and your own sacred solitude, the right people arrive at the right time, exactly on schedule without forcing or chasing. Conclusions are within reach. Unrequited love and romance. So maybe this is like a post-breakup struggle. Maybe you've been having a rough time because you had a one-sided relationship, whether that be romantic or just otherwise in nature. I don't know. Like I said, it's gonna vary probably, but I feel like you had kind of a tower moment. Maybe there was a separation and that was really hard for you and really painful and difficult. And maybe you did feel lonely and very sad. But you're coming up on the tail end of that. You're coming out of that. And a lot of us understand what it's like to go through these kinds of things. Maybe this is someone you thought you would be with for a long time. Maybe you thought you'd be together forever. Or maybe you knew that you wouldn't, but it still hurts. Either way. But this cycle is closing out for you, and I feel your pain. I'm not just saying that, like I genuinely feel pain and struggle and kind of like the emotional equivalent of paint drying. So that's the cycle that I am seeing is going to be ending for you guys soon, very soon. That came in the reverse. So maybe this wasn't a serious relationship like you thought it would be. Get to work. Can't never did a thing. So I feel like once you realize that this wasn't going to be as serious as you wanted, or maybe it's the opposite, and maybe this person wanted more from you than what you could or were willing to provide. And I feel like you had to remove yourself from this situation. I feel like you might have been the one who ended this. And that doesn't make it any easier, per se, because it still hurts, whether you're the one doing it or having it done to you. But whatever it was, I feel like you really recognized that this wasn't where you needed to be, and even though it really sucked for a long time afterwards, I feel like it was the right decision. But I also felt like maybe you knew that this was going to be hard. Iris, rainbows and messages. When it rains, look for rainbows. When it's dark, look for stars. So you guys have been working through this for a while. Grace and sweetness. And you learned grace through this, and you've healed through this with grace, which is not an easy feat. But this is what cycle is ending for you. I mean, that part's already, like the relationship's already ended, but the post-relationship part is ending. You're coming out of that. You're going to be able to breathe easier and move forward easier. So that is the cycle that's closing for you guys. Congratulations, because I know this is a very difficult thing for you. And it took a lot of strength for you to be able to maneuver in the way that you did. And I'm sure that you learned along the way. And I know that things will get easier for you. And I know that'll be a huge relief. And I feel like you guys really deserve to just breathe. You've been doing a lot of releasing. You've been doing a lot of forward movement, healing, self-reflection, and you've done really well. And this was the right thing to do, and you've done it the right way, even whenever you felt like maybe you weren't, or if you stumbled, or if you've had to change your trajectory because things weren't the way that you thought they were, you were still able to do that. That's what I see closing for you. Pile 2. We have the scale. This reminds me of balance and judgment. And then I'm pretty sure that's citrine. I'm not 100% certain. I carry worry stones in my pockets at work because I like to fidget with things. It's kind of a stressful environment. So it's nice to have something to do with my hands. Okie doke. What cycle? Whoa, hey. What cycle are we closing? We have the Lovers. We have, okay, Judgment. Whoa. 5 of Wands. 7 of Wands. Anything else want to come out? Ten of Cups. Look at that. All right. I don't feel like it's a relationship that's ending for you guys. I feel like it is imbalance within a relationship. I feel like you guys have had a lot of struggles. I feel like there's been a lot of judgment happening. There's been a lot of internal issues. There's been conflict. Maybe arguments. Maybe just frustration in general with each other. And that I see is going to be balancing out one way or another. I'm not sure the details. It's going to vary per person. But I feel like this is something that you guys have been working at for a long time. or it might just seem like a long time. I don't know. But the discontent was definitely there. And I feel like you're going to be able to move through that. And it's not going to take you very long to end this cycle of discontent with your person. And with the Ten of Cups, I see that it's going to be a favorable outcome for you, most likely. It's just, you guys have really been going through it. I don't know why. That's not for me to know. I don't feel like that's my business. But I feel like you guys have been really going through it. Like a really sticky, thick, syrupy kind of situation trying to go through. But you're nearing the end. And this will all be for something, and it will work out. Father healing, courage, truth, shadow work, believe in the impossible. Fearless love. So, like I said, it's not complete. It's not my business. It's not even partially. I'm not going to say it's not completely because it's not. But anyway, I trust that my intuition is always leading me in the right direction. I feel like this has been highlighting some shadow work that you guys have needed to go through. And I'm not saying you have daddy issues with this card. I'm not saying any of that. Maybe it's just the more masculine energy type of thing that you were struggling with. I've been in situations and in relationships where I didn't realize that I even had issues of a certain type or triggers of a certain type until I was in the relationship, and it showed me that. So that might be part of it here. But with the shadow work and the believe in the impossible and this fearless love, whatever it was that was triggering you, whatever it was that was coming up for you to heal, you've been doing that, and you've been doing that together and on your own as well. And it's going to work out for you. And that's not to say this, I mean, this has not been a bad relationship, I don't feel like. And I feel like there is care there and there's feeling there, obviously, or you wouldn't be struggling this hard. But it's something you've been working on. And you're about done. This is what's closing for you. This is the tail end of it. Phoenix, how's that for a happily ever after, you guys? Then we have raindrops. Take a chance on them. You guys might have really been questioning this relationship for a hot minute. And I feel like a lot of that was because you were triggered. And that's not a bad thing. It's not, you've done nothing wrong and they've done nothing wrong, or maybe y'all have. I don't know. But even if mistakes were made and things were done in a way that maybe they could have been done differently, you guys have worked through it and you're going to be just fine. Release your guilt for whatever it was that you've done or said or anything like that. Take control of your own narrative. I feel like you guys are getting a new start. You guys, this relationship is getting a whole another start. And we have, you already have the answers. Look at that, you guys. Like, there's so much positivity here after so much struggle. And you've had to really be honest with yourselves and honest with your person. And that's been difficult. But like, we have the fearless love. We have the Ten of Cups. We have the happily ever after. Take a chance. This is beautiful. It really is. I'm very excited for you, in case you haven't noticed. It's a very exciting energy. Ooh. Mind the business that pays you. There's the difference between fighting and disagreeing. Snip, snip. Find some humor. All right, I feel like those are the lessons that you guys have been learning. Be careful what you choose to believe. I feel like this whole relationship's been like a big old trigger for you guys. And like, I've been there. Same. This has been a lot of learning and a lot of struggle, but this balance is here. It's coming. You guys have done so much work, and you should be extremely proud. You guys have a whole nother start coming, and it's a positive one. It's not like, oh, this whole thing's been triggering, we have to call it quits, whatever. That's not what I'm seeing here. And so many times we end up in relationships that even if we care about each other, there might just be too much going on for us to be able to handle it emotionally. But that's not what happened. You guys, you trudged through it, and it was a trudge, but you guys did it. And that's what I see ending for you. That's the cycle that's ending, is the struggle between you two. You guys can get to your happily ever after. It is possible, even if you might have been wondering whether it even was in the beginning. And that's not to say you won't struggle. That's not to say you won't have more things come up, because you will, because that's what life is about in relationships and whatnot. But you guys can work through them. And I think that something that's been important for you guys to learn is that you are still separate individuals, and you're not going to be the same person. You're not going to like all the same things. You're not going to be copies of one another. And learning to accept your other person as they are instead of as you would like them to be is something that you've had to do, and that's a really good thing. Because once you learn to do that with one person, you can do it with all the people. That doesn't mean you have to like all the people. That's what I'm saying. This is what's ending for you guys, is the struggle. Straight up the struggle. All right, my pile number 3, you have a tree and this worry stone that I have absolutely no idea what it is. But it's nice and I like it. I'm not much on actually knowing like what stones are supposed to be for. I just like to feel them, and I like the geology part of it. Anyway, let's stop the rambling. What cycle are we ending? What are we completing? The 8 of Cups. The Knight of Pentacles. Death. 9 of Wands. And the 5 of Pentacles. 4 of Pentacles. 10 of Wands. And the Moon. Okay. I am seeing that you guys are ending a cycle of struggling with finances and insecurity about finances. And by that I mean something is happening, you're not making enough money, or you just want to make more money and you've been stressed about how you're going to do that, what's going to happen. You know something's going to have to change. You don't know what. You've been in the dark. You've been carrying all the wands. You've been struggling trying to hold on to what you do have, feeling left out in the cold. If the struggle continues, you guys are really tired. And it's not that you haven't been working, because you've been putting one foot in front of another. It's just been slow. But this has been a whole freaking journey. That's what I'm seeing so far for the struggle. And like, I've been there. What do we got? Safety. So even if you don't feel like it, you guys are safe. You have been safe. It might not, like I said, it might not feel like it. solitude. Once you embrace the inner divine and your own sacred solitude, the right people arrive at the right time, exactly on schedule, without forcing or chasing. So it's like when dire things are happening in a movie and at exactly the right time, something happens. Contemplation time, spend time alone, meditating on what you truly want. Leadership, take charge of the situation. Service, you stop using the universe to try to get what you want and start asking love to use you. You offer all and want to be of service. Ironically, many desires become fulfilled without grasping or manipulating. And then we have, I honor my self-worth by asking for what I want. I feel like you guys have been confused on not necessarily what you want, but like how you're going to get there, how you're going to get what you want. And you might have been really scared. This might have been a very scary time for you, and that's absolutely understandable. It's completely relatable. A lot of us have been there. I've told this story before, but one time as a single parent, I had just started a different job, and that leap of faith required me to go over a month without income, and I am completely responsible financially for my child, and my bank account had like 72 cents in it. That was terrifying. So it's not like I don't understand what you're going through and where you've been and where you're at, but this is a reading about how the cycle is ending. So eventually you're gonna have like, maybe 76 cents in your bank account. I don't know, hopefully more than that, but a little humor never hurts. But look at that. I just looked over and there are 2 different justice cards. The balance is coming. It is. To have 2 justice cards though here, you guys, it's coming up. Justice will be served. You will not be stuck forever. The swords will come out. Remember to practice self-love. So even though you're really struggling and you are holding on tight to what money you do have, remember that more is coming. I don't know when, I don't know how, and I don't know how much, but it is coming. This has been growing slowly. I mean, slowly. Like, you guys probably feel like this has been an eternity, but I mean, 11, it's meant to be. Think first before you judge. Maybe that's a lesson that you learned from this. Or maybe it's just a reminder to not judge yourself so harshly for being in this situation in the first place. Because it's a common thing, even if people don't talk about it. People don't talk about finances, but it's a thing that a lot more people struggle with than they would like to let on. Make the change. So with the make the change and the leadership card, I mean, something led to you getting into this situation. And with this, endings are inevitable. Maybe you did make a leap of faith like I had to at one point. And those things will test every bit of everything you have. But what's important to realize is the focusing on the here and now is going to help you, because what can you do right now at this very moment, at this second, at this time, and this day? Nothing. You cannot do anything right now at this second, or you would be. So spending your energy worrying about it, and I know that's easier said than done, is not really going to help. Anything else? Wings. You never needed those wings to fly. And the world awaits you. We have number 4, I am stable. And every breath can be a new beginning. It's gonna be okay. It's meant to be okay. And sometimes we're put in these situations so that we can relate to others. So that when they're doubting themselves, maybe we won't be as harsh or as quick to judge because we've been there. And we can also be more objective in how we can help others. So a lot of times, not only is it a learning experience, but it's also an experience that will help us teach farther down the road. I'm not saying you're going to be a finance coach at some point. I'm just going to say that maybe that'll help you have a little bit more grace for others whenever you see that they're struggling. Then we have Go Wild. Let loose. Once this does come in, I mean, don't go crazy, but if you think you can do better, then have at it. Or maybe this is what you can tell others. I mean, maybe others are giving you a hard time about being in the situation that you're in. And maybe you need to, you know, kind of put them in their place a little bit, not be a whole jerk, but just remember to ask others if they're being jerks. Does it really actually concern you? Like, is it actually your business? Do you really need to say anything to me? Because they don't. And people will always be like that. And I don't want you to be afraid of judgment for being in the situation that you're in. And if people are being jerks, just keep it simple. Keep moving. Not everybody needs to know. So you don't have to defend yourself to anybody, obviously. You don't need cards to tell you that. But some people are not even worth your energy. And if they're trying to make you feel bad, then that's just because they're feeling bad and they're jerks. So that could go both ways. It'll be different for each person, but right now times are tough, and I do recognize that, and some other people recognize that, and either you're on the side where you could have more grace for others, or you're on the side where you can have more grace for yourself. But either way, this has not been an easy situation for you. Is it really within your control? Again, right now, there's not anything you can do right this second, but you will be okay. And last but not least, flexibility is your friend. I know it's so easy to be hung up on what we need and how we're going to meet those needs. I get it. I promise you. The world will continue going. You're going to get through this. And this cycle is almost over. This reading is about what's closing. What cycle is closing? You're almost there. Keep holding on just a little bit longer.